Welcome back to Winners and Losers, ladies and gentlemen, the show where we look at the Premier League football over the weekend just gone by, and what a weekend it was, because it was match week 38, the last games of the season, and what a final day it was. Before that, Joe, you are joining me today. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good, mate. It was good. Yesterday's action was just utter carnage, wasn't it? I was sat on the sofa. I didn't know what game to watch. I was flicking between games. It was all going off in the WhatsApp group chats. It's just spectacular, mate. It was absolutely spectacular. How was yours?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It was a perfect day. I think I, in the end, had about 4 screens going with the Leeds-Brentford game going on, the Liverpool one, obviously City, and I managed to get Chelsea on, but to be honest, that one was pointless. Could have used that for a better screen. But yes, look, we might as well start and kick things off with the champions-elect. Pep Guardiola's men were basically 15 minutes away from seeing their entire season slip through their fingers, and Liverpool lifting the Premier League. Now, not only that, he would have surely faced an onslaught from the media as well about his players' mentality and their long-term future. The spending of £100 million on Jack Grealish not to even play on the final day. But thanks to an amazing 5 minutes, all was saved. Because City went on to score 3 goals, and Gundogan being a fantastic player within that. Now, this is what Jack Grealish said about his manager afterwards when he became a Premier League champion.
Honestly, he's a genius. Like football-wise, he's unbelievable. Honestly, I say to people all the time, I'd love you to just come in and just watch, one of his team talks before the game, just to see what he does for every player. He's unbelievable, and just working with him day to day on the training pitch. Sometimes I think for myself this season, I don't get nervous or anything with fans or stuff like that, because I think people have seen what I can do, but he actually makes me nervous sometimes, I swear, and I feel like sometimes I've had to impress him too much. Yeah. But now, like Meek said, I've got my first season out of the way, and I've got the medal here, so hopefully many more.
Some quite nice words there, Joe, from Jack Grealish. I think also in that interview as well, he goes on to mention about how he's constantly in two minds about whether he wants to dribble past people or just keep the ball, because that's what Pep wants him to do. But what has impressed you most about Man City this season?
To be honest with you, I think it's the diversity of the goal scorers, isn't it? They've got 7 players now this season on 10 plus goals and assists. They have scored 99 goals in the Premier League. I think they're the top scoring side across Europe, and people say, well, they need a striker. They score goals for fun. I was actually, kind of rooting for Manchester City yesterday, as tragic as that sounds, because obviously I didn't want Liverpool to win the Premier League, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only Manchester United fan in that boat. Didn't really celebrate Ilkay Gundogan's winner, but there was a bit inside of me that was kind of like, thank God for that, like big old relief, because Liverpool pushed them pretty close, didn't they?
Yeah, indeed, very, very close. If you were watching both games at the same time, it was quite funny to see the fans of both teams kind of cheering when the Wolves go 1-0 up against Liverpool.
Have you seen
crazy.
the moment? Have you seen the moment where the false rumour breaks at Anfield that the game's gone to 3-3 and the entire crowd starts celebrating? It is gold dust.
Indeed, it's pure magic for us. But if you were there, I'm sure it was like heartbreak all over again to find out that it hadn't. Now, I think we have to give a shout out to Pep and his tactical genius to any substitutions. He brought on Zinchenko at half-time to play left back, and he was fantastic in the 45 minutes that he was on. He completed 4 dribbles and registered his 4th assist as well this season in only just 10 starts. I think he's a really, really underrated player, Zinchenko, and obviously bringing on Gundogan, who went on to net 2 as well. Now, everyone this season, as you mentioned, the diversity of goal scorers have pulled their weight. 7 different players have more than 10 goals and assists this campaign. But look, we should give the final word to Pep Guardiola on how he managed to turn the game around.
The moment we find a goal, change everything.
What did you say to them at half-time? Because the first half, of course, did not go to plan.
It's normal and tension, abnormal. We are playing in non-normal circumstances, but you have to handle. You put the ball inside, they close a lot inside, put the ball. Alex gave us a lot in the first 20 minutes, second half. After second goal from Coutinho was really difficult, but it was a score and goal and momentum. With our people, did the rest.
Now we have to shed some light on Liverpool. Klopp's team were 14 points behind Man City at one stage in the Premier League. And Klopp, in this interview, summed up how his mentality monsters are so strong.
No, it's all good, honestly. If you would have told me before the season that's the situation, I would have probably said, yeah, take that. I'm not too sure with the league, to be honest. But we are at least 1 point behind. Last game, I would have taken probably, and the Champions League final. So it's how it is. It's if you want to win big, you have to be ready to lose big, and that's what we did today. So you cannot. You have to be ready for tight decisions, and they go sometimes more often than not against you. But it's all about reacting. And of course, we can now not react in the league tomorrow, but next year we can.
Now, Joe, this is quite a scary thought to think about, considering Man City was so dominant this season. They're now adding Erling Haaland, one of the rising stars in world football, one of a phenomenon, I think you can say. What can Liverpool do to maintain pace?
Well, to be honest with you, I think Liverpool will still be in and amongst it. Just by adding Haaland to this already incredible side, Manchester City are going to improve. Of course they are. They're going to have a different element to their game in terms of finishing within the box. But Liverpool themselves have added really smartly over the last few years, and I'd back them to add smartly this coming summer. We saw the reports in RMC over the weekend that they've agreed a deal for Aurelien Tchouameni. If Aurelien Tchouameni comes to Liverpool and slots into a midfield three alongside Thiago and Fabinho as sort of the Jordan Henderson upgrade, if you like, I mean, we're talking about an elite level talent, aren't we? We're talking about one of the most progressive, dominant young central midfielders in world football. And that would really separate those two sides. You know, we already believe, or at least I already believe, that nobody can catch Liverpool and Manchester City whilst Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are in charge. They are the two best coaches in world football, two of the best squads playing the best football, and they're just adding components to progress the team to the next level. Both sides are going to have really interesting summers, I think, because they do have a number of players that are out of contract in 2023. You think of the likes of Raheem Sterling, Ilkay Gundogan, and then for Liverpool, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane. They've got to figure out whether or not they want to keep these players, whether or not they want to sell them. If I was Liverpool right now, would I be taking advantage of this Real Madrid Mbappe show? You know, they're going to want to sign a superstar in world football. Both of these sides do have superstars available whose contracts are running down into 2023. You know, if a big offer came in for Sadio Mane from Real Madrid, I would potentially consider it. If a big offer came in for Raheem Sterling from Real Madrid, I would potentially consider it. Whether or not that's going to happen, I highly doubt, but it's going to be a very, very interesting summer to see what business gets done. Because Liverpool today, this morning, have already announced Fabio Carvalho. We kind of knew that was going to happen anyway, but it's officially gone over the line there. And we actually had Chris Hamill speaking to the big man just a couple of weeks ago.
How did you sort of gravitate towards that number 10 position then? Was it always in your mind, coming up through the youth ranks, that's where you wanted to play, or just playing to your strengths?
So at Benfica, I used to play on the wing, and I still love playing on the wing. But then obviously coming over to Fulham, they saw that they could get more out of me playing on the 10, like creating chances and scoring as well. It was difficult at the start because I was just used to playing on the wing and beating my man and coming in and trying to get shots off. Where in the 10 you have to constantly be checking your shoulders and there's a lot more around you going on.
Now, another story that came out of the weekend's football was all about the Champions League. Would Spurs fall against Norwich? No, they won 5-0. A very, very strong result. Heung-min Son as well got on the score sheet, meaning him and Mohamed Salah were level for the Golden Boot at the end of the season, both on 23 apiece. Now, Conte, when he came in charge of Spurs, they were in 9th position in the table. To now finish 4th against Arsenal and others that were chasing it, Manchester United and such, is very, very impressive. And Hugo Lloris spoke about the influence of Antonio Conte.
Yeah, I think step by step he brought his football concept, he brought his passion, his energy, but obviously high-level football is about details, and he brought that type of details, in our days at the training ground, and I think he faced players with the willingness to improve, with the willingness to become stronger, and he matched perfectly, so. So now, we got rewarded, and it's going to give positiveness, calmness for the club, to prepare the next season.
Now, Joe, the Italian refused to comment on his future and whether he would be in the dugout come the start of the season. What do you make of it? What do you think Spurs need to do? I mean, getting Champions League football is a pretty good start.
I mean, I don't know what more Antonio Conte could have done and was expecting, really, from this Tottenham situation. To get top 4 is really amazing achievement, given he took over when they were in 9th. He's kind of usurped Arsenal and Manchester United all in the space of a few months. And equally, was he expecting more than a top 4 finish? Right now with Tottenham Hotspur, I think it's only right that he stays. It's only right that he commits at least one more season to Tottenham. But the situation at PSG is evolving extremely quickly, isn't it? We've seen Leonardo lose his position as sporting director over the weekend. Looks like Luis Campos is going to take over there. Pochettino is expected to lose his position as PSG manager as well. If that occurs and Mbappe doesn't get his wish of Zinedine Zidane, I think that they will be going pretty hard for Antonio Conte. Now, if I was Antonio Conte, I think I would stick with Tottenham Hotspur. The situation at PSG for coaches is about as poisonous as Manchester United. But will he do that when the big check arrives? I'm not too sure. I think I personally would stay with Tottenham Hotspur. And if you were to ask me to bet right now, I would probably bet that he stays at Tottenham Hotspur, gets a big old budget for the summer, and then gives it at least one more season, because he's done such a phenomenal job there. He really has.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think the only thing that might push him over the edge is not having the ability to obviously challenge for a Premier League title when you're against Man City.
But then why take over at Tottenham in the first place? Why? Because you're not going to do it.
It's a very good point. Yeah, it's a very, very good point. I think, it's all going to come down to the summer spending if Spurs are willing to back him. And if they are, then, I mean, obviously, Kulusevski and Bentancur haven't turned out too bad, and they were his signings as well. But look, there are so many more stories that we can cover, but we have to move on to our winners and losers. And we're going to do these at the same time. These come at the suggestions of at DevKieran07 and at as advertised. What a Twitter handle that is, Jesus. And that is, our winners are Leeds United and our losers are Burnley. Obviously, going into the final day, Burnley were actually above Leeds on goal difference in the league, but were relegated after suffering a defeat against a Newcastle side that finished just 2 points behind Wolves. What a revival that was by Eddie Howe's men. But Joe, do you think the right team stayed up and the right team went down?
Across the course of the season, the Premier League never lies, does it? So you'd have to say but I thought Leeds would go down. I think a remarkable final day to get something out of that game, to be honest with you. Rafinha, Jack Harrison scoring some huge goals, and Burnley slightly unfortunate they had to face off against a Newcastle side that are just in such good form, so confident. Callum Wilson coming back into the team like he never left, right? And it now appears that it's pretty much disastrous times for Burnley. Of course, ALK Capital taken over recently, and we know they burden them with pretty huge debts that are going to need to be paid off straight away because they've dropped down to the Championship. They've also got 9 members of the first team squad out of contract in the summer, including James Tarkowski, who had this to say about his club's efforts.
There's never a lack of effort or desire from our team. We've just lacked individual quality in front of their goal for most of the season, and then we give away too many sloppy goals, and that's going to result in finishing low in the table. So we've given it our all. There's a great set of lads in there who never give up, and unfortunately just come short.
Now, Roy Keane, after the game, mentioned that he thought Burnley should have stuck with Sean Dyche at the end of the day. Do you agree with Roy, or do you have a slightly different opinion?
I think at the time I agreed with Roy, but I think given that we saw Mike Jackson pick up as many points and wins and get as close to survival as he did, given that Sean Dyche won just one of 21 Premier League games previously, I would have to disagree with Roy Keane on that one. I think the club came pretty close to making the right call there. It was obviously behind the scenes a pretty poisonous atmosphere at Burnley. We've all read the reports by now in The Athletic that the players weren't particularly keen on keeping Sean Dyche for much longer, and it nearly proved to be the correct decision. The one thing I will say, in the long term, I think Sean Dyche would have been a very solid pair of hands to bring them back up from the Championship yet again, because I mentioned it a minute ago, the number of players that are out of contract. I can't see Maxwell Cornet playing down there, I can't see Wout Weghorst playing down there, Tarkowski. I think Dwight McNeil and Nick Pope are definitely going to have suitors down there. So that becomes an issue, and that becomes an even bigger issue when you pair sort of the Burnley financial situation in which 90% of the club's revenue comes from TV rights. They are going to have to sell. So I worry for Burnley. I really worry for Burnley over the next couple of years because I think it's going to become increasingly difficult for them. But, you know, it's captain hindsight now to say they shouldn't have sacked Deitch when they took as many points as they did once he left the club.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. And especially the way the Championship's looking at the moment, it's getting better and better every single season. So I do wish everyone good luck at Burnley for next season. Now, we should speak a little bit about Leeds. I thought a couple of weeks ago they were the ones that were going to be getting relegated. Fair play to Jesse Marsch. And here's what he had to say after keeping them up.
So 4 games I've been here, and this group has found a way to dig deep in injury time and find winners, find goals that get us draws. So the character of the group is clear, and it's a privilege to work with these guys.
Now, Joe, Jesse Marsch there, over the moon, obviously, with staying in the Premier League. What do you rate on the job that he's done, taking over from Bielsa? Not an easy thing to do after the kind of relationship he built with the fans and the way their team played their football. And what do you think he has to do next season in order to not be in this position again?
Well, you know, he's done his job. His job was to keep Leeds in the Premier League, and he somehow scratched and clawed his way to that possibility. I don't think he's done the most amazing job, but equally he took over in an absolute show of a situation, didn't he, with very little time left on the clock, and has kept the head above water. Next season's going to be the real acid test. It looks like Brendan Aronson is joining the club for $30 million. That's going to be Jesse Marsch's sort of first principal signing, and you can see some sort of alignment, can't you? And some sort of structured way of thinking from the Leeds hierarchy. They've obviously had Jesse Marsch planned out as Bielsa's successor for a long time. That wasn't a knee-jerk sort of snap your fingers reaction. That's obviously been a thoughtful process, given that they're also lining up targets from the Red Bull sort of group in the likes of Brendan Aronson. I think he's going to be under quite substantial pressure next season, Jesse Marsch, but hopefully for him, he won't have nearly as many injury problems as Leeds have had this season. That's seen Calvin Phillips, Liam Cooper, Patrick Bamford out for nearly the entire season, and he can get that group back together, get a few new fresh faces in there, and have a full pre-season to work in a sort of atmosphere of positivity because they've stayed in the Premier League. So I wish Jesse Marsch well because I really, really like him as a bloke, and I do think there is a good coach in there somewhere.
Yeah, indeed. And it all come down to whether they can keep Rafinha from heading off to Barcelona as well, keeping a few of their stars. Calvin Phillips was at one point was rumoured to Manchester United. But that is the show. Let's move on to our moment of the week, Joe. I'm going to give you 3 options. First one comes from at a THFC Dash. Now, I assume he's a Spurs fan because he says Son winning the Golden Boot. This one comes from Rachel 7000, which I actually think is a secret account under Doogie Critchley because it's Sunderland getting promoted. Or was the video of Erik ten Hag getting chased by Sky Sports your moment of the weekend, Jay?
My moment of the weekend was the season finishing for Manchester United, and you know, big shout out to that guy for keeping us in the Europa League somehow.
I'll let you have your final thoughts on Man United's season to everyone at home. Go on, you can end the show with that. Little 1 minute on the United's end of the season.
I don't need 1 minute, mate. I'll give you one.
Losing
I'll give you one
Palace.
word. Dog shit. Move on.
Well, Erik ten Hag starts his adventure with Manchester United today. He has a press conference later today. Check that out on Football Daily's Twitter. Joe, for the lovely people at home, what should they watch now if they want to continue watching Football Daily?
Why not go and watch yesterday's Sunday Vibes? We handed out a few end-of-season awards. Or We Need Talk on Friday, where I looked at Arsenal's squad and who Mikel Arteta should keep and who should let go this summer.
Amazing. If you're not already subscribed to Football Daily, then do that right now. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment on your moment of the season. You know, your team. How do you think your team has done this season as well? Get down there, I should say. And we'll see you later. Goodbye.
See you. Bye.